Very good. It seems we are live. Hello, everyone. Good evening, or good afternoon, or good morning. It depends on where you are. Hello again. Here we are in our Friday dating with your soul appointment. Welcome again. Janet is not going to be with us tonight. We are going to be missing you. We miss you, amiga, already. She is having vacations and she is visiting Virginia and visiting her son. So the whole family got together, and we are so glad that you will be enjoying this weekend with your family, Janet. We will be missing you here, but we are sending all the love from here. Thank you for the ones that are joining. I see people on YouTube, Facebook, and also in Instagram. Welcome all. For the ones that don't know it, that might be joining, by the way, I know, especially in Instagram, I'm kind of new at doing this. So, for the ones that don't know it, we are following the information of this book called Alchemy for the Soul. I wrote this book last year, and this book contains 7 steps to transcend your ancestors' past, that those unresolved memories of your past and your ancestors that might be affecting your present and what you want to manifest. So if you don't know what we will be doing, we have, let's say, a book club that we call Dating with Your Soul, and we meet every Friday here at 8 p.m. So welcome. If you haven't purchased the book, as Janet usually says, buy the book. You can find it in our website, alchemyforthesoul.link, or also you can go to Amazon. And our topic today is called the unresolved memories of the conquistador and also the colonization. How those memories can be affecting us today? Because that is the question. Do you have any idea of what those memories or how those memories could be affecting us today? Just asking. If you think, or maybe something comes to you, I just want to invite you to leave it here in comments so we can participate and interact, because my idea of being here is not just for me to be teaching something or talking about something, but also that we can interact and share. So welcome again. It's already, let's give it another minute. Meanwhile, I want to also invite you, if you haven't, or if you are willing, let's say, to dig deeper into the ocean of your unconsciousness. And of course, where in this ocean of this unconsciousness, where all of those unresolved memories of our past and our ancestors' past are, let's say, hidden. We can navigate together and go in there and see the roots of the conflict so we can liberate them. And for that, I have a training program that actually we will be starting tomorrow. Tomorrow will be the first module. There are modules. We have 8 modules in this training program. And if you feel called to it, or if you feel this is your moment to take this journey and go deep or deeper, let's say, to your unconsciousness, you can visit my website, systemichealinginstitute.com. And in there, you will be able to see all the modules and the dates and the times and all about the training program on family constellations. After this program, of course, you will have your own work done related to ancestral healing. And of course, you will be trained to be able to facilitate this therapy for others. So I guess it's time. I see Dr. Moquete. I remember you. You are in Central America. Welcome. And I see also Sil Many. Thank you for joining us. And I don't see names on YouTube or in Facebook unless you really say hi, I'm here, or this is me, or whatever. So I invite you to do so if you haven't, so I can get to see who is visiting tonight. All right. So let's begin. Our topic today, this is our 19th program, and it's called The Unresolved Memories of the Conquistador and the Colonization and How It Affects Us. Hi, Sandy Sue. Hello again. We recently just met and we were having a session. So thank you again for being here. And if you haven't, if you don't know where we are, we're still working. Hi, Sean. Hi, Christine. Thank you for being so present. So we are in the chapter of inclusion, still in the chapter of inclusion. And as maybe some of you know, why it is important to work on the inclusion, because if some of the members of the system, of the family system, or even of any system is being missed or excluded or haven't been able to be seen, then that is affecting the whole system. So we want to create this inclusion with intention to create order, systemic order, because where there is order, love flows. And I'm sure we all want to experience that, right? That's what we want to do, experience love and order and harmony in our relationships, in our abundance, with our abundance, with our, the success in our life. So that's why it is important, the inclusion. So let's talk a little bit about these unresolved memories of the colonization. I took some notes here before we begin. I was like I like giving an intro before we go to the book, so we can have a little bit more of information. My intention is to expand, of course, the information of the book. And for that, I took these notes. So just imagine that how was that time in history where, let's say the conquistador came to America and conquered the lands of the natives, of the people who were already living here. So just think of the two parts, because we are not here to judge who was right or not, but that was a fact. It happened. So how that fact can be affecting us today? That's the question. We don't need to be judging or saying who was right or wrong, or if there was a perpetrator, or if there was a victim, because actually sometimes the victim, in order to protect yourself, you can become the perpetrator as well. See, it's like a whole switch of roles it happens unconsciously, of course, because we weren't surviving. They weren't surviving, especially the people who were living in this land and in many other lands, that were conquered. So let's say that when that happened, let's see both perspectives, right? Maybe the conquistador is looking to have new lands, but is not really thinking of the other. And maybe the native is trying to protect. I'm trying to protect my territory, my land, right? And this, of course, created a conflict that, of course, whoever had more power got to submit the other. And that's when all started. If we talk about how this could have affected us, we can talk about separation here. See, if I am, let's say, a native, and I see someone else that is different than me coming, and I approach this person, but this person, instead of being friendly, attacks me, you might think, oh my God, this is dangerous, or this group of people is dangerous and we are in danger. We need to protect, or we need to attack. It's just a way of surviving. It's all about survival. And so when that happens, we somehow separate. We separate because we are trying to survive. And in that saying that, right, the conquistador, of course, had an idea of conquering lands and also creating this colonization for the natives. But the natives, didn't need that. And of course, that affected their organization, their own structure, because we all had a different structure. And so this, let's say, created two parties. I don't know if you have seen the picture that I put at the beginning of the program in YouTube, because this is my YouTube channel in English. For the ones that speak Spanish, I also have a YouTube channel called Mayadari del Sol in Spanish. So we also do this book club on Thursdays at 8 p.m. if you want to go and listen to the one in Spanish. And also we do Fridays in English. So this created a separation. See, let's say we are one family. Sorry, we are one family, right? But this family got separated because I'm afraid of you, because you want to take your power and submit me, and I'm not willing to do that, or I don't understand why you want to do that. It is all, at the end, is a war of power. Can we agree on that? It's all a war of interests. And because one thinks that if I have more, maybe, then I'll be more powerful. And not necessarily that. That is just a perspective. Maybe I have a belief and I feel like if you get to believe what I believe, you'll be saved. It is a perspective. Maybe if you do it as I do, because I'm expecting you to do it as I do, maybe you'll be okay. But again, it is a perspective. And perspectives are different experiences for every one of these two parties. So at the end, party A is not going to understand party B, and party B is not going to understand party A. So what happens here, instead of being one family, we enter into this conflict. See? And that's what happens, for example, in war. We are two countries that we have this interest, and I want the other one to, do this or that. And then if the other one doesn't do it, then we have this conflict, and then war appears. So if we compare what we're living today with those times, my question here is, are we doing it the same? What do you think? Are we doing it the same as our ancestors? We have the tendency to think that what was in the past is in the past. But if we haven't reconciled the past, we are still living it in this present. Does it make sense? Yes? Yes, so we are still in the same positions of seeing each other as enemies because I have this belief and you don't. Because I am from this country and you don't. Because I do it this way and you're not doing it the right way. Because I am part of this group that we believe this, and then, we exclude the others when we have this sort of perspectives, and we still enter into the same conflict. I want to conquer you. And the way to conquer you is I want to impose my beliefs on you. See, it's exactly the same that happened in the past. See, I try to conquer or impose what I want to control. I want to control that others do as I want it. And I want everybody to do it as I want. So I'm still being that conquistador. Can you see it? Oh my gosh. It's just a realization that we might not see it that way, but it is still happening. See? And maybe if you feel that you are that native and you accept that sort of submission because you are afraid of the other and the consequences of that power over you, you might submit and say, okay, I'll do it as you want. And then, of course, we get lost in our fear, in a fear that doesn't exist, in a fear that happened because one had more power over the other, and both of them believe that. And that's why that memory, that unresolved memory, still continue to happen until today. Does it make sense? Isn't that interesting to see how what you wouldn't think is still happening? So nobody here is right or wrong. We are just lost in our perspectives, in our mind of what I think it should be. And that is really what is keeping us separated. And what I want to say here is that at this moment in history, we are not to be into that programming again. We can change that. See, I don't need to be the conquistador, and I don't need to be the victim of that. And it only takes, of course, your consciousness to be able to see this and to take action and not to become the controller or not to become the victim. See, because here the game is about the perpetrator and the victim. See, who did this to me and you did this to me, but in order for me to protect myself, I'm going to attack you. So maybe I become again the perpetrator against this, right? And of course, when two of these minds or perspectives are fighting because of power or because I'm defending or protecting myself or my town or my city or my community, then we won't be able to recognize that we are that one family. See, we are here talking about consciousness, consciousness of the one, and when it got lost. And this is just one memory because it got lost even way before. And of course, throughout history, still many other memories that we went through in history or our ancestors went through it in history are still affecting us today. So let's see what else I wrote here. Of course, if some of, let's say party A has more power because, let's say, as it happened in that moment, they had gunfires, let's say, and then let's say that indigenous people only had arrows and arcs to defend, who is going to win here, right? It's like who is got the power here, and how after you see this is a fight that I'm gonna lose anyways. So my only way is to surrender to the power of the other. So how can this be affecting us today? Let's think about that. See, let's say that you have a boss that is very controlling and that maybe tells you if you don't do it this way, you will lose your job and then you won't have money to pay for your bills. That is a way of controlling. At the same time, it's still I want to keep, I conquer because this is my empire and you need to go under my empire. See? And so somehow, if I haven't been able to be aware of how to manage my empire, maybe I'm still being some sort of that conquistador that is trying to keep people under that submission. See, a leader can be a leader if it's got the consciousness to understand that the whole team can work together for the benefit of something, of a service that this person is offering. But if the person hasn't been able to see it this way, we still doing it the same. The same on the other side. See, I come here because if I don't work, then I won't make money. So I'm still in that third dimensional state. See, because I need this. And if no one provides me this, I might die, or my family might die, or we won't have anything to eat, or we won't have a place to stay. So I submit to it. And both of them are, let's say, uh, memories from them that are from that programming from the past. So that's, we call it a 3D mind, program to answer or reply or just accept that. And we are not to be there any longer because all the new programming changed already for the planet and for the human. And our expansion, the human expansion, our consciousness is in another state. But if you don't get to recognize that and to heal your past and why you accept to be in one place or on the other, or in one party or on the other, then you won't be able to heal that. And we won't be able to change that reality for all. Because this isn't just for one person, this is for all of us. Does it make sense? Yes? Yes? So let's say, and we can, see this case and see how it is reflecting or projecting today. See, before was the conquistador and the natives, let's say, and today is the political parties. See, political party A and B. See, who wants to conquer who and why. Hmm? And we can talk about the teams, even the let's say football teams or basketball teams. It's like this is the best one, that is not. See, it's like you put in one of those two sides. Yeah, you might like one of those, but just like it, not necessarily to be so loyal to say that none of the other ones are good. This is just a game, it's just a game. We need to let go of that preference of being so loyal or attached to something that is not really bringing harmony and flow. Mhm. Also, beliefs, some beliefs, spiritual beliefs separate because I feel like my belief is the one that's it and not necessarily. See, so we need to start seeing that this is very subtle. You might think that it doesn't happen, but happens all the time. Even you can be doing that with someone within your family system. Maybe you want your child to do it as you want. See, so you want to become still that a conquistador. I want my kid or my child to believe this and to follow this and to do it as I have done it because that's the structure and that's how it should be. But maybe the structure changed. Those are the news because everything is in constant change. So we cannot control it. We cannot control what is happening. And it's that life is always changing and we cannot control or we cannot stop that. So we're wasting our time and our energy. Each of those two parties needs to have this experience in order to experience that and have a different outcome. But if I try to control it, then I won't allow that. Let's talk about parents and children, for example. See, of course, I want to guide them, but one thing is to guide, and another thing is to control. See, and that's why I'm talking about this memory, how we still live under control of everything, the government and the politics and society and your culture and your church. What is it that you still follow blindly that you haven't even questioned? Is this really helping me grow? Are these beliefs or what I'm doing here is helping me move forward in life, or is really limiting because if I do it differently I maybe won't be able to be accepted by my clan, and I'm afraid of that to happen because if my clan doesn't accept me, then I'll be afraid of being alone, for example. See, which doesn't exist because, of course, we're talking about here that if we're one unity or one family, it doesn't exist that you can be separated from it. So we need to let go of those limitations that are only here in our mind. Does it make sense? Yes? All right, let's see what else I wrote here. Oh, I like this one. I wrote this, and this actually comes from something in the Bible. I don't know how you say it in English, but I'm going to try to say it. It says, what God has put together, something about the man or the human cannot separate it. So I wrote this. What God has put together, our mind shouldn't separate. What about that? What God has put together, our mind shouldn't separate. And that's why I'm coming here to talk about how we separate because of those memories that we have been carrying. That was our conditioning to be part of it, and that was our programming that today we must change after knowing this, after maybe seeing it from this perspective. Okay, so let's talk about the colonization. I love this one because let's say that what happened if the other one already got to conquer you. So what happened was that let's say at certain point, of course, the conquistador conquered the natives, and then they wanted the natives to follow their beliefs. Their beliefs. So in order for these natives to follow what they had never seen before, they were punished. Yeah, and it was brutal. It was actually cruelty in the way these people wanted the other ones to believe in what they believe. And so they, at certain point, it was so painful for the people who were being, taught on another belief that they had to deny their own nature. I was watching this movie. I don't know if it was a movie or a Netflix series. I'm trying to remember, but it was in Canada. This was in Canada, And somehow, oh, Anne with an E. It's called Anne with an E. And so this girl meets this native girl. And at that moment, a native still, or people in the community, like the civilians, let's say, used to think that the other people were savage and dangerous and that they shouldn't be close. But this girl, they got to be friends with another girl. And then so these people who wanted to impose these beliefs, the civilians, were trying to enlist these native girls, little girls, just to teach them their beliefs. And so she thought that she was going to be taken to a place where she was going to just learn things. But the way they were taught, it was very harsh. First they will cut their hair because for the indigenous, it was very important to have their hair long. So if they cut their hair, there's something about the strength, just like Hercules. Like if you cut their hair, if you would cut his hair, he will lose his power. Same same thing happens with the indigenous. They feel like they have the strength in their hair. So they will cut their hair, they change their names. They couldn't speak their language. They had to end up believing what it was imposed because the punishment was really harsh and they had no escape. See? So how can this memory be affecting us today? Just think about it. Loss of identity. Loss of identity. See where our indigenous here in the States are, how they lost their identity because of what happened. See, where is that connection to the source, to nature? It was lost because they had to deny their beliefs and their truth to be something else they weren't. They couldn't even understand, but they had to accept. It was just forced. See? And today, just look at yourself. Sometimes you feel like I don't belong here. I don't know. I have this feeling of not feeling like I belong. Have you had that thought? Maybe it can come for a memory like this. Maybe your ancestors were half native, right? Or you're carrying some of that native in you. And maybe at a certain point you feel, but I don't feel like I belong to this group or to that or to here. I just don't know why. And maybe you're looking for your own identity, which at this moment, the identity should be searched within, right? Within your higher self, which that's actually our true identity, to find your true essence, not anymore of what your ancestors were or believed, but to believe that you are part of this source and that is your true identity, that you come from the stars, that you come from another galaxy, that you have been going through all of these dimensions, and that you are here having an experience, but this isn't you. You are just being part of it at this moment in this experience of being in this 3D in this human body on earth, but it goes beyond that. See, so it is important to see it like that. Let's say that maybe I still feel lost. Lost. It's like maybe, right? You were taken to another land. So I'm lost. This isn't my land. But the land is the land of all. See, it's also a perspective that your ancestor had that you might be carrying. See, I want to give you all of this just for you to start checking, taking notes. Do I feel like I don't belong? Do I feel like lost, like this isn't my place? For example, that this isn't my place, that I shouldn't be here? What about afraid? Afraid of expressing yourself? Because if you were torn to have a different belief, a spiritual belief, different than the one you had, because otherwise you were punished, then you were afraid to express your belief. I cannot be myself. I cannot say that I believe that this tree has energy, or that God is within me, or that I am God, because what the other ones are going to say about me, I'm going to be um, judged and pointed, and so I cannot express myself. We are still being affected by that, that we had to keep silence and not to express who we are because of those memories. Hmm? What about unworthiness? See, see, if the other one, if the conquistador conquered me, right? Maybe it's because I'm not worth it. I'm like, no, not important. I need to become maybe their servant, or under them, but I cannot be just equal. Have you thought of that? Those memories of unworthiness might come from it, from way before, not from just mom or dad or in this lifetime. It's something that we have been carrying transgenerationally. So just check and take notes of where you have been, and I haven't seen it that way, but it could be one of those memories that I came to resolve. Hmm? What about fear to be seen? Yeah, I needed to hide in order to survive. So maybe it's hard for you to show yourself because it was dangerous. It was a matter of survival. Hmm? And if you show yourself here, oh my gosh, I'm afraid of something. So just take notes on what could be, based on what I just shared, what could be those, or which one of those can be affecting you today. So let's go to the book. Sean says, love it. I separate myself from God when I'm in my head. I love it. Yes, just like it. Beautiful. See? Thank you, Sean, for saying it. That's right. I separate from God, myself from God, when I'm in my head, especially when I'm in my head that is not conscious. Because if I'm more conscious of it, I can recognize that I'm having a perspective that is separating me from others, or separating me from my possibilities, right? Because I'm limiting myself because of that perspective, right? So I'm separating myself from that. And I'm also blocking the source to have the experience through me because I'm having these limiting beliefs in my head. And that's why I'm here sharing this. All right. So for the ones following, again, we are reading this book, Alchemy for the Soul. And we are on page number 95, and we are still working on the inclusion. And I wanted to say this because none of them had the truth, or was right or wrong. Even though we are in a place of duality, we must get to the point of neutrality, being neutral, understanding that it was our destiny and that this is what it is here, but I don't need to be on one side or the other. If the more I keep myself neutral, the closer I get to be to that consciousness that we want to get to reach, right? That is a state of consciousness that we are following. And if we don't get to transcend these memories, then we will be trapped in the past again. And we don't want that, do we? All right. So it says here, now, I want to mention some memories that marked the history of humanity. Not to judge, see, again, not to judge, but to have the observations of why we still carry some unconscious behaviors. Behaviors, see, I act in this way because I want to be accepted or because I need to protect myself, but none of them is conscious. I don't need to be protecting of anything. I don't need to be having these behaviors in order to get what I want. I just want to create it, everything from here, from my conscious light, and that can manifest. That's all I need, to be conscious of who I am, to be able to manifest what I want. I don't need to be protecting or pushing or having all of these efforts. And that's why we need to transcend, again, those memories. Okay. So most of those are based on survival. See, our ancestors accepted everything in order to survive. When they accepted everything, they denied themselves, surrendered their power, and even humiliated themselves in order to stay alive. And this is another fear that we have, fear to die. So I will surrender or I will give up myself in order to stay alive. And death doesn't exist. It's also a perspective. We transform. We are all the time in constant change, as I just said. We are in constant change. So it doesn't really happen. It's just the perspective that creates fear that this is it for me and I'm going to die, and that's all. And it's not true. So this happened in stories like the conquest, the slavery, and the Holocaust. Check on those memories, right? They all involve exclusion. The conquest shows how the white people took over the native people's lands and their lives. This created a huge systemic decompensation, energy debt, exclusion, and disconnection with our own nature. And we are still living these memories, see, because there was a decompensation, and today is trying to compensate. But now the ones that felt like they were victims of are attacking. So they are becoming now the perpetrators. Can you see that? You have seen that in the news, right? Now it's like the opposite is happening, and there is like a justification, and it shouldn't. If we get to see with these eyes of consciousness, we need to stop that and say what it can bring harmony for all, not just for me. And think of no moving forward and taking actions without being conscious of where you are and why you want to do that. Hmm? Have you ever wondered where your connection to your own wisdom went after the process of colonization that forced us to deny our roots? Yes, that's what happened. We had to deny our roots in order to survive. So we got disconnected from our source. And that's why we are asking or waiting or expecting or looking for that connection outside. And the connection is within again. It is relevant to honor the first inhabitants of each land and to include the death and losses. The memory of the conquest are affecting our descendants today who continue to live stories of betrayal, rejection, abandonment, humiliation, and injustice. Right? When we get triggered by these memories, it awakens the emotions of resentment, opportunism, indignation, hatred, and sadness. So if you wonder why sometimes you feel resentment, because maybe you cannot express yourself because you feel like others don't allow you to express yourself. So you are in one of these two parties and you have a memory that you are carrying of maybe rejection. Let's say if we talk about these ones that I mentioned here, or of betrayal, I need to be controlling everything, and I want to make sure that everything is the way I want it because I'm afraid of being betrayed. Because yes, the indigenous were betrayed many times by the conquistadors. Oh yes, no, we're just coming in peace, but all of a sudden they were betrayed and killed. See, so there is a fear of betrayal, and we are trying to protect to be betrayed. Hmm? Abandonment. I'm afraid of everybody or my family to die if I don't do it this way, because we have the perception of loneliness of because of those memories. Because abandonment, of course, doesn't exist. Any of this exists. It's only perspectives of our mind. Isn't that interesting to see it this way? Hmm? And so when any of these feelings come to you, just sit with it and self-observe yourself. I am feeling indignation. I am feeling sadness. I am feeling resentment. where this come from, because it has a root, and you are the only one who can change and reconcile that, in order to change that feeling and for it not to come again, and for it to help you transcend it, so we all can transcend it as the unity that we are. Hmm? It says here, it is therefore important to reconcile the two, the conqueror and the native, within ourselves. Both are part of our genetic memory. Yes, they both pulse in us. All the ancestors are within you. See, we are both now at this time in history, we are so mixed, so mixed. There is no one pure, let's say, race. See, we are all mixed because that was part of the plan, for us to mix to the point to say, but we are not this or that. We are just all one. We are carrying all of the genetics of all the ancestors and all those memories. And what we need to do is to reconcile those memories within, not outside. Hmm? All the ancestors are within you. Look at this example of how we still do it the same as they did. How many times do you see an opportunity and want to take it at the expense of others? That's the conquistador in you. That's the one that I want to conquer that land. It doesn't matter how I want it. The memory of the conquistador, then it comes. Or how many times have you fallen into being the victim of opportunism? Oh, I went to the other side and I became the victim. See? And we fall into this many times in our life. Have you? I ask you because I have many times in different situations in my life. Conqueror and native memories operate in you. Can you see it? See? This shows us what we need to change in ourselves by understanding and recognizing that our true power is not outside of us, but in our own consciousness. The recognition of who we are again. So that's part of the work that we must do, right? It's a long journey of recognition. Who you are, what you're here for, how can I get to connect or reconnect with my source in many levels, right? And one step that we must do in order to do that is to transcend those unresolved memories of our ancestors. That's why I'm here. That's my field and the one I chose to come and share and help here in life, so everyone can really do the work. Otherwise, we will be attached and connected to those memories, and they will, of course, reappear because they haven't been able to be healed. Hmm? So when we recognize these two energies of the one and the other one, pulsing in us, we can change them by acting from love. See, I can say, I don't need to be the victim of this, so you can get out of victimization. I don't need to control anybody, so I can get out of that zone of feeling that I need someone, or I want that, or I want to have that. So it's just an act of consciousness. You only need one moment of saying, why do I want to do it that way? Is this going to help us all? Or what do I need or feel like I need in order to take one place or the other, one position or the other? Hmm? When we do this, we help heal those memories. When you get to see things consciously, you get to heal these memories. How many deaths occur so that today we can understand its purpose? Because all of what happened was part of a plan for us today to see what happened and to go back to our unity. So it was part of a plan. Let's separate. Let's think that you're more than me, and I'm going to think that I'm less than you. But at the end, we need to go back to equality. We are just the same. Yes? In the end, everything happened so we can return to our consciousness and return to love. Let's acknowledge that when we live our essence of love, we get lost in the unconsciousness that searches for power. But our true power has always been within ourselves. How crazy, right? So I'm going to leave it here. I don't know if you want to share something else. I would love to. The ones that are there, because I see some people there, and I would love to just hear your observations on what I just shared, or just where do you see yourself related to that? You know, yeah, sometimes I do this and I hadn't noticed that I accept everything even though I don't want to do it. That is a memory of being on one side of the submissive. See? And this means that you are accepting to be the victim because you might be complaining about it, right? It's like, why do I have to do it this way and that way? And I don't like it, but I need to. Little details, and it is still happening in your life. Or you have an interest and you want to control things. You want to control that your partner don't go away. You want to control that your children don't go and do that. You want to control, so you want to keep it all in control. Why? What is your fear? What is behind that? See? So I wanted to leave you with these observations so you can have some more maybe insights and just digest this information. I'm coming here every Friday to give you more, bring more of this and how it can maybe help you see life differently, and that the ways you behave and the feelings that you sometimes come to you might not be yours. You might be carrying those memories, those ancestral memories that haven't been solved, and then today you might be living in like just as before. So saying that, I want to say thank you all for being so present. I see, oh, and thank you for those hearts. I see some hearts in Instagram, and I see some hearts in YouTube, and I see some likes in YouTube. Thank you so much. If you think this information somehow it might be different, but myself, others, I truly appreciate if you can share it. If you can share, because that's what I'm here for, trying to put this information out there. Maybe it's a different way of seeing life or different way of seeing our system of life. And that's why I chose this, let's say, purpose or this mission of talking about transcending the ancestors. Many people think, oh, but the past is the past. It's not going to affect me today. Hmm. Well, the information is in your DNA, in your epigenetics. So just know that that it can be awakened in you or any of your descendants if it hasn't been resolved. So what of those memories of our ancestors or humanity affect your system and specifically yourself? And that's the question that I wanted to leave you with tonight. So thank you again for being so present. I'm sending you this big hug and a lot of tons of love and blessings. And I hope to see you next Friday again at 8 p.m. Thank you so much for listening and for being willing just to, yeah, listen to this information that might sound weird or might make sense. It depends on where we are in consciousness, right? So sending love to you. And well, if you decided to join us for a training program again, we are starting tomorrow at 9 a.m. Eastern Time. And maybe at this moment you say, oh, I really want to dive deeper into this, the transgenerational and healing the ancestors. Maybe send me a text at 321-900-5680. Or if you would like to have a session with me, individual session with me, or a group session, or if you would like to know more about the program, you can go to systemichealinginstitute.com, systemichealinginstitute.com, and just check it out. And again, remember that we are following this book called Alchemy for the Soul. We can be the alchemists of life if we get to transcend the programming of our past and that of our ancestors' past. And you can generate a change that can help us all. So thank you for being present, for listening, for sharing. I love you all, and I'll see you next week. Bye. Mwah.